Yo, what is going on YouTube? I am Germ here, as you guys can see up on the screen. Today we're going to be talking about the LCS Lock In tournament. Yes, it kind of seems like old news at this point. It was 2 weeks ago. We're into the first week of the LCS season already. We have week 2 coming up. There's a ton of storylines and stuff to talk about, but you know, the numbers, the stats, everything is kind of coming in. We've had a little bit of time to digest the Lock In tournament, and the LOL esports staff posted this article talking about the LCS Lock In viewership, talking about really just how big of an overall success it was and how happy they are with it. Now in this video today, we're going to be kind of going over, first of all the numbers they're presenting to us, just how big was it, how well did it perform, what were their big takeaways from it, and then also giving my thoughts and opinions on some other stuff, like should the LEC try something out like this? Is the Lock In tournament going to have continued success? Why was it so good? Just giving all of my thoughts and opinions on this issue, and again, just like usual, getting the thoughts and opinions of you guys as well, because I really do appreciate having this back and forth, this discussion, this conversation with you guys. But before we get into that, I just mention real quick, if you have not already, please take a second really fast and smash that like button. It helps me out so much YouTube algorithm, and I would appreciate it a ton. It is really the best and easiest way to help support my channel if that is something that you are interested in doing. Also, subscribing. If you are not subscribed already, it helps you guys stay up to date on all my latest content so you don't miss out on any of the videos we have going on, because we've been posting a ton lately. There's been a ton to talk about, and you know, if LOL esports is your thing, this is the place to be. With that being said, let's get right into this, talking about again the LCS Lock In viewership posted by the LOL esports staff today on February 10th. I think this video is probably gonna go out February 11th, so really yesterday. I'm gonna move myself over to the left side of the screen, I think, so I can cover up less of it. I'm gonna cut myself off a little bit. The LCS Lock In impressive viewership. Spring 2021 starts on a high after the inaugural lock-in. They talk about how on Friday, January 15th, the LCS started a new year of competition with a fresh look, and our first ever kickoff tournament, first ever preseason tournament, whatever you want to call it. The LCS community brings the energy with the start of a new competitive year, but we could never have expected the welcome you all gave us this year, because obviously they were kind of worried about how this was going to be received. You know, there was two ways. This could have been received as an awesome, really hype event, a really awesome way of seeing all the new players, new rosters, starting off the season with a bang, getting really hyped or excited, or it could have been seen as a preseason meme tournament, because obviously it doesn't affect regular season standings, it doesn't affect who's going to MSI, it doesn't affect who's going to Worlds. Players could have not cared about it, teams could have not cared about it, fans could have not cared about it. So there was some risk involved, and they weren't really sure how this was going to go. You know, I'm sure they've had this idea. You know, this wasn't like a brand new idea. We've been seeing this stuff in China and Korea for a while. So I'm sure the LCS has talked about this idea previously and probably just not done it before for whatever reason, but they finally decided to do it this year, and it was a little bit of a risk. You know, they were putting up $150,000. They were putting up their viewership and everything on the line, and it did pay off pretty good. But how good? Across the 3 weeks of the tournament, Lock In had an English average minute audience, I don't know if it's minute audience, maybe, I don't know what AMA means, of 196,000, and fans watched more than 9.4 million hours, 43% higher than the first 3 weeks of spring 2020. So, you know, they ran this tournament for 3 weeks, and it was the 3 weeks where we would have usually seen weeks 1, 2, and 3 of the LCS. So to see that it did 43% better than what the first 3 weeks of the LCS was last year, that's a great sign. And also, that is a huge jump. Now, yes, this was a tournament, and we got to see BO3s that went to game 3. We got to see BO5s that went to game 5. We got to see a grand final. So there was a lot of factors at play that, you know, helped inflate and helped elevate the viewership. But that is only because the series were good, the games were hyped, the teams came to play, the teams were trying their hardest, the players were trying their hardest, the trash talk was there. The LCS did a great job with the content, building up storylines, building up the hype. Because if this was just a meme tournament or a tournament nobody cared about, or a preseason tournament with nothing online, blah blah blah, whatever you want to say, viewership wouldn't have necessarily had to have been higher. Yes, tournaments are sick, playoffs are sick, best of 5, best of 3s, getting to see more of our favorite teams on stage and stuff, that's great. But if nobody cares about it, then, you know, viewership isn't necessarily going to be there. So this was absolutely a smash hit success. On Sunday, January 31st, the tournament culminated in a long overdue grudge match between TL and Cloud9. The finals had an AMA of 246,000 and peaked at 372,000 viewers on English language broadcast. After a 5-game series, TL, you know, put a stop to the reverse sweep. They earned $150,000 and donated $50,000 to Gamers and Online Harassment Hotline. So, you know, LOL esports staff giving themselves a little pat on the back, talking about just how successful this event was able to be. I'm gonna move myself back over here in my usual position. I feel more comfortable. Talking about just how successful this was, and it's really, really great. Again, part of the reason why this performed so well was because we had the biggest teams making it the farthest. You know, we had a TSM Cloud9 best of 3, something that, again, we usually wouldn't get until, I don't know, the end of the LCS season. What is that, April or something like that? And we got that in January, and that was hype. We got a 5-game series between Cloud9 and 100 Thieves, and 100 Thieves pretty, you know, as far as fan base goes, they're not in the upper tier, but they're getting there. They have a decent-sized fan base. And then for the grand finals to be TL Cloud9, for that grand finals to go to Game 5, there was obviously going to be insane viewership. There was so much going on. I mean, this was an absolutely insane offseason where people were really, really hyped and excited to get to see all the new faces. You know, Perks, Alfari, Santorin on TL, Sword Art on TSM, all of TSM's new changes. It was a crazy, crazy offseason, and there was so much to be looking forward to and so much to really tune into to just see what it was going to look like. And yes, the crazy offseason, all the question marks definitely helped out with viewership. Having a tournament format, so many things that played into it. Monte Cristo actually had something to say about this. He said, tournaments increase viewership. This is a fact in esports. And he also said, keep in mind that this viewership increase occurred in spite of the fact that the two biggest names in the LCS, Bjergsen and Doublelift, retired. Formats are one of the most important tools to drive viewership in our industry, and that is a big, big thing to note. The fact that the LCS could lose its two biggest stars in terms of popularity, in terms of fan base, in terms of just historic accolades as far as the LCS goes. These two guys have been synonymous with the LCS. They could lose them both in the same offseason and still increase viewership in the first 3 weeks by 43% is really a testament to how successful this tournament was, how great of an idea it was. And yes, tournaments do increase viewership. I mean, we've seen that. A tournament, in my opinion, and in the opinion of a lot of other people, is always going to be more exciting. Not only are we getting to see best of 3s, best of 5s, more games of our favorite teams on stage, more hype moments, you know, reverse sweeps, knocking teams out, way more on the line than just, you know, otherwise it would have been week 3 of the LCS, you know, 2 teams that who cares in a series that ultimately doesn't matter in a best of 1 with really nothing on the line, nothing at stake. They can say that, yes, regular season games matter and your record matters, blah, 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 blah. And you can say that in the lock-in, it's just a preseason tournament where it doesn't matter. But, I mean, really, those lock-in games kind of matter more because if you lose, you're eliminated. You know, you can't go on and win. You can't have all the trash talk and all that. And that kind of simulates knockout games at Worlds, at MSI, things like that. You're getting, or even playoff series, which are always super, super hyped. It's just way more interesting, exciting, compelling. It's just a better viewing experience overall than regular season best of 1s, even regular season best of 3s or best of 5s, because still not having that stuff at stake, not having being eliminated at stake. Now, will the LCS be able to replicate this success in the coming years? Hopefully. I still think that our off seasons are going to be getting crazier and crazier and crazier as there's more money in the scene, as people are moving all over the world, really. I think we could continue to have crazy off seasons, and I think that would really build the hype for the lock-in tournament because, again, it's a first opportunity to see all the new free agents, all the new teams, all the new lineups. So I don't know why people wouldn't tune in. So, you know, as long as that stuff's happening, I think the fan stuff is going to be there. Fans are going to be interested. But will teams continue to take it seriously? I hope. Will players continue to take it seriously? Hopefully. As long as all that stuff keeps happening, I think the lock-in tournament can continue to be exciting, interesting, and have crazy viewership. But, you know, if the top teams kind of are bringing back the same lineups, if they're not really ready to take it seriously, if they want a longer offseason, if they're subbing in academy players more and more often, like we already saw a little bit in this, there could definitely be some things to kill the hype a little bit, and that would be pretty unfortunate. As far as should the LEC implement something like this, I would not be surprised at all if we do see the LEC's version of the lock-in tournament next year. I mean, just with the sheer fact that they were able to increase the first 3 weeks of viewership by 43%, that's got to be just light bulbs going off in the heads of the LEC. Like, yes, obviously everyone wants to increase viewership. That is great for sponsorships. That's great for business. That's great for the team, for the organization, for the league, for the players, everyone involved. If all you have to do is do a little preseason tournament, which at the end of the day is very, very little risk, because for these teams, even if it goes horribly for you, it's just a preseason tournament. And in the grand scheme of things, you know, once we get to the end of the season, once we get to Worlds or whatever, nobody's going to look back on the lock-in tournament and be like, oh, hey, you guys remember when 100 Thieves got reverse slapped by Cloud9? Like, it's not going to matter. He's not going to care. So there's no real risk for the teams or players or anything. If you're just getting more eyeballs on the sport, why would you not do it? And you know, there is still prize pool on the line. There's still money going to charity. There's a lot of good stuff going on. Your casters get to start practicing. You know, everyone gets to start to get warmed up. You can iron out all the kinks. And it just works out really, really great for everybody. Another great benefit that I think from this whole thing from the LCS is the fact that now Spring Split usually lasts 9 weeks. Like in 2020, Spring Split was 9 weeks. You know, you have 2 games a week for 9 weeks, so that's your 18 games. But now they didn't just add in lock-in tournament to the beginning of that and go, you know, 12 weeks. They cut out the first 3 weeks, added those extra games into the rest, and put the lock-in tournament at the beginning. So that means we now have a condensed Spring Split, which is 6 weeks long with 3 games from every team every week. Rather than 2 by 9, it's 3 by 6. And I think that's an amazing change as well. Having a super week every single week, that's a ton of fun. It's fast-paced. It's exciting. You get to see your teams playing all the time. You get to see your teams playing every day. There's so much League of Legends content. But the great thing also is that Spring Split has historically sucked. People think Spring Split is stupid, boring, it has poor viewership, people don't really care about it because it doesn't really matter at all. How you do in Spring Split does not really affect Summer Split, does not really affect Worlds. You know, in the LCS and the LEC, they've had this problem forever. So, taking the more boring split, taking the less exciting split, and chunking it down to 6 weeks so you can get through that boring regular season faster and get to those more meaningful games like the playoffs, MSI, all that stuff sooner is going to be great. And I think that will also really help out the viewership for the LCS. Instead of having 9 weeks where your fans kind of lose interest as time goes on and the good teams start to pull away and the bad teams just really, really suck and they're so boring to watch, now it's all in 6 weeks. So even if the viewership does go down, it's only for a 6-week period rather than a 9-week period. And overall, I think that will help the LCS increase our overall viewership numbers, ratings, everything, which again is more money for the teams, the sponsors, the league, everyone involved. And I think that's also something that the LEC could really take notes on and really learn from, because man, I think to me the 6-week Spring Split is way more appealing than the 9-week Spring Split. And that's not even taking into account the fact that the lock-in tournament I thought was a ton of fun as well, and that's something you can do plus having that 6-week Spring Split. So I think the LCS, you know, the last couple of years, LEC has been killing it in terms of the content structure. They've really kind of started pulling away from the LCS. But I think this season, so far, the LCS is absolutely killing it. They're making a ton of great decisions, and everything's going really, really good. And so far, everything they've done in 2021 has worked out very, very well. And if they can keep making changes like this, keep making moves like this, the LCS has a bright future ahead of it. But that is pretty much it for this video today, guys. Definitely drop a like if you enjoyed it. I would appreciate it so, so much. It really, really helps out my channel way more than you even know. Leave a comment down below. What do you think about this whole situation? Did you like the lock-in tournament? Did you think it was a little bit dumb? Would you like to see a preseason tournament in the LEC? I would love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on anything we talked about in today's video. Subscribe to stay up to date on my latest content. Hopefully I catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace!